Hello students, today we need to talk about scatter plots. So please go ahead and turn in the next page of your journal. For me, I think it was maybe page 69, I don't know, but put your page number in the upper outside corner and then title it scatter plots. And the first thing we need to do is talk about three different vocabulary words. We have the word scatter plot, which is a graphical representation used to display the relationship between discrete data pairs, or it just shows a relationship between data. So look, you need to copy that definition down. And then we have the definition for trend. When the points lie in a pattern, the two sets of values have a relationship. We call that a trend. And then, of course, discrete data is data where only certain values or whole numbers is possible. So, for example, the number of people in a classroom. You can't have half a person, so the number of people would be discrete data. Or the numbers you roll on a dice, because you can only roll certain numbers and they're whole numbers. You can't measure in between there. So that would be discrete data. Values such as times for a race, you can measure to the fractions of a second. And so that would not be discrete data. So go ahead and copy these definitions down into your journal first. Pause the video and do that. When you're finished, go ahead and continue with the video. All right, you're going to use some of those graphs in the basket on the counter to recreate a couple of graphs in your journal. So you'll want to grab a few of those. You're going to recreate this graph. This graph is a scatter plot that shows used car prices. So if you look at the bottom or x-axis that is horizontal, you can see that it is representing the age of the car in years. And then the price of the car is represented on the y-axis. So if you look at this graph, you'll notice that when a car is 1 year old, it's up in the $20,000 to $22,000 range. Whereas if you look at a car that's 10 years old, it might be down in the less than $2,000. So the question here is, according to the graph, how does the price of a 6-year-old car compare to the cost of a 2-year-old car? So I want you to answer this question. You do not have to copy the question, but you're going to recreate the graph, and then you're going to answer the question and explain your thinking in complete sentences. How does the cost of a 6-year-old car compare to the cost of a 2-year-old car? Answer that in complete questions next to your graph. Pause the video, and when you're done, come back. All right, so you should have gotten an answer there, and it seems to be that the older the car is, the less expensive it is, or the lower the cost. So as the car gets older, the cost seems to go down. So a 6-year-old car would be much cheaper than a 2-year-old car. Hopefully you explained something similar to that. Now, if you look at these two graphs, look at the first one here. We have the height and weight of students that we're comparing. So if you look at the height in inches and the weight in pounds, it seems as though as we get taller, we weigh more. And that makes sense, right? That makes perfect sense. As you get taller, you're going to weigh more. So you'll notice that as we go along the x-axis, the points go up on the y-axis as well. And so the arrow indicates that we have a trend. And when both values are going up, the x is going up while the y is going up, we call this a positive trend. Okay, so when we have a positive trend, the arrow goes in that upward direction like that. Okay, now if you look at the other one, it's comparing the cost per pound of dog food as the size of the bag gets bigger. When you go to Walmart, you'll notice that the bigger the bag of dog food you get, the more efficient the cost is. It's not as much per pound. If you buy in bulk, it ends up being cheaper. Okay, so as the size of the bag gets bigger, the cost per pound is going down. Okay, so a 50-pound bag of dog food only costs a few cents per pound, whereas a 5 or 10-pound bag of dog food costs a couple dollars per pound. And this is true of most things. As you buy in bulk, it becomes cheaper per pound or per ounce. So we have this downward arrow here. And when we have that downward arrow, we call that a negative trend. Okay, so you're going to recreate these graphs and label the positive trend and the negative trend in your journal. Now in this scatter plot, there doesn't seem to be any relationship at all. Students were surveyed for their age and years and asked how many sisters they have. And so you can see that the data points don't really make a pattern. There's not any relationship that we can see through this. And so there's no relationship. And that makes sense because your age has absolutely nothing to do with how many sisters you have. So there wouldn't be a relationship. So sometimes when we have a scatter plot, there is no relationship between the data values. So this would be no trend. So go ahead and recreate this scatter plot and go ahead and put that it has no trend and just explain in your own words why. Why do we see no trend in this? Explain that in your own words. Perfect. Now we're going to do some independent practice. Here we have a scatter plot, and I want you to draw this scatter plot in your journal, and there are some questions over here to the side, numbers 5 through 9. So for your OMO, this is going to be your OMO, you're going to recreate the scatter plot, and then you're going to answer these questions in your journal. Once you've completed that, you will take your journal to Miss Stafford to have it checked off, and then don't forget to put your pictures into your Unit 10 journal assignment. Good luck and have a great day.